the best you can do is do the task, check all the boxes, no matter who's doing it. So it shouldn't matter who does it. It matters that it gets done.
Welcome to the Big Brand Theory Podcast by Blackwood Creative.
A lot of times you're highly skilled in a certain area and then you become a leader over that area and so forth. But what can happen is because you're skilled, your mindset is like, well, I'll just do it myself because I know how to do it. I'm faster. I can do it right. I don't have to take time to teach somebody to do it. All these are great benefits if something needs to get done quickly or something like that. But at the end of the day, though, you're then limited by the amount of time you have in your day, or even your skill set, or your ability to stay creative, all sorts of different things like that can become a problem quickly if you're just constantly saying, I'll just do it myself, instead of allowing somebody else to do it and taking the time to teach them how to do it and then properly delegating to them those different tasks, or better yet, results. So I think it's the whole talk around delegating is super important, and there's a lot of us doing it wrong. And there was a while where I was like, I'm really good at delegating. And then once I really dove in, I was like, I don't think I'm as good as I think I am. So yeah. So what's your thoughts on delegating?
So you hit it on a lot of different fronts there. So if you don't train, you can't hand off anything. If you hold on to everything, you can't get better at it yourself. So you got to find that area. Like, there's always going to be these, it's an emergency, we got to hop on and do this in an hour kind of thing. Like, okay, then that's when you pull that person who can come through for that, not the trainee who did it once kind of thing. That makes sense. But if it's a reoccurring thing and you know that eventually you're going to have to hand that off to infill your own capacity with more of what your duties are, or it's part of a project that needs a team and not just one person, you have to train. Like, you have to literally sit there with the person, correct mistakes, set up templates, like figure things out with that person so that way they can do the task. And then you delegate it to them, and it's no longer an issue of your capacity. And there's a lot of leaders out there that I think kind of live in that world where they're like, I'm just so busy all the time. And I'm like, you don't have to be. Like, if you have a team, use them. And a lot of times they don't view a team as a team. They view a team as the people who do the other stuff.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest problems, is if you just treat them almost like the people who do the overfill, they'll always be the people who do the overfill.
Yeah. Versus
training them up, handing off things, and eventually especially even for you, like, it's great to have that ability to be like, you know what, especially as a leader or as CEO of multiple businesses, I feel like golfing today. And I have a bunch of tasks and I'm not the best person to do this task. And I think that's the thing to owning up to it. It's not because you want to go golfing. It's because you're forcing yourself to do the task versus handing it off to the person who can do it either better, faster, or somebody who needs to do it to learn.
Yeah.
So, like, if you have a few minor tasks that you know you can hand off and you've been busting your butt for like 3 weeks straight, 80-hour weeks or something, it's like, yeah, I kind of need a break. So we kind of talked about this before, but conversing with your team and letting them understand that, hey, this is not a normal occurrence. I'm not going to just hand off everything I do and you guys do everything and I just go do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. It's less about that. It's less about even taking that time off. It's just about putting the task in the hands of the right people.
Yeah.
and training them so that way they can do it as good as you. As a leader, you should always want to hire in the people that do things better than you,
Right.
not worse than you, and then you train them to your level. You should be bringing on people that, are killers, are great at what they do, and like it could be a few small things or whatever, but like keep that delegation in mind as you're bringing on new people. It's like, oh, this person can help out here, this person can help out here, and not just for you, but for other people, other leaders too.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest hurdles for leaders to be able to delegate properly, or even want to delegate at all, is this like, well, I don't have time to train. Mm-hmm. And my pushback to that is like, are you going to do the task? Yes. Okay, so grab the person who you want to delegate it to, and as you do it, train them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might take at worst twice as long.
Yeah.
Right? But if it takes 12% more or whatever, then next time you don't have to do it, or you only have to help for 20% of it. Right. And then the next time you don't have to do it, you just freed up so much of your time. And the biggest thing around delegating is that you should be focused on doing the tasks that only you can do. Yes. And that line right there is like, that's across the board. It's not just the leader. It's not just, the boss or whatever. It's everybody. It's the photographer who's great at shooting pictures of houses, right? Mm-hmm. You, for example. If you do the things that only you can do, and then you're able to delegate to some other people the things that they can do, you can still do them, but they can do as well. Mm-hmm. Then you create more space to do the things that you're supposed to be doing. And like you said, like getting the task to the right person who can do it. And sometimes they're not the best person right now, but they will be.
The more you give them,
the more that they do that task, right? So, and what I've found in my process of delegating is that, in kind of this whole idea of like rearranging my schedule or my workload or whatever it is, that I want to be able to create space for certain things that maybe I'm not even able to do right now. Mm-hmm. And so if I can't do those things, we can't move the business forward, and I'm the right person to do those things. But if I have filled my task list with things that other people on the team can do and should do, then I am limiting the growth of our business by myself, like literally just saying, here's the cap.
You're holding it.
I'm the cap right here. Yeah. And so as I delegate out tasks, delegate out results, and create space in my calendar and in my task list, it's not even about taking time off and resting. While that's a nice little bonus, it's more to me about what can I then put into my calendar, into my task list, that are things that, again, only I can do, only I should do. And that may be stuff around business growth, even sales types things, all sorts of whatever it is for that particular person, whether it's me as a leader or it's anybody else on the team, saying I shouldn't be the one doing this person should do it, so that then I can do this, which fits more in line with what I'm supposed to be doing and gets us farther along as a business. And so that's where you're kind of playing this, I don't know, even like a puzzle piece, and like, oh, this goes here and that one goes there, and then at the end we've got this beautiful picture. Yep.
I think I brought it up before, but bringing in the right people that can assist with that is a good thing to keep in mind. It's great to fill a position with a person that is multifaceted and not just one single thing, but it's kind of hard to find people that are able to do like everything, jack of all trades kind of thing. But for me, I like to think of it as, if we bring in the right person who can assist with all the little 10-minute, 15-minute tasks, like they're kind of like the, again, not like in a negative term, but like the overflow, like, hey, I have these 4 tasks today that are really small that I'm just not the right fit to do them because anybody can do them. But I would like it if you could try to do these, and then we can go over them later. And if you did them right, then that's great. If not, the next time they can be right because we'll go through them together, which is perfectly fine. But when you get to a point with multiple leaders who don't delegate, then you have positions that go without tasking, or then you have people that don't learn and then become stagnant. And you have to kind of address that as itself, like as a leader, our own way. We should be able to say like, hey, I want you to do this task. I know you're not going to be the best at it right away. Like, get that right out of the air. And then explain to them that I want you to try to do this. Like, I know I can do it, but I want you to try to do it. And sometimes that means not having every single piece of information. Sometimes it requires Googling. Sometimes it requires, looking through past tasks or previous work or whichever. But I think that is one of the biggest assets as a team member, is to have somebody that's willing to be like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry about it. Like, I'll figure it out. And having that person is like so clutch when you have something that comes up yourself that's the priority goes way up higher on this other task that is more for you.
Yeah. And
then your day is gone. Like, you have to move 8 tasks to the next day. It's like, if you have people that you can delegate to, do it. Like, it's okay to hand off things and complete more tasks than to like be like, I'm so flustered, I need to figure this out. And I don't even think that that's micromanaging. I think that is just purely withholding. Like, just trying to almost carry everything on your shoulders. I don't think it's a micromanaging task. I think it's just putting everything on your shoulders and be like, it's all on me. I'm super stressed out. And then you have people that are like, I want to help, like, hand it to me and all that.
Yeah, I think that there's a few hurdles to the delegating thing, where one, like we already talked about, it's like, I don't have time to train. Well, actually you do. But the other piece is like, I want it done right, so I need to just do it myself. It's like, well, if you trained properly, it could be done right. And then it's just this idea of like, the last thing is like, well, maybe I kind of like doing this. Like, there's a lot of times when you have somebody who's a creator or a technician or something like that then starts their own business, and then they're realizing like, now I got to run the business and I got to do the thing. But I kind of like doing the thing. So like the relief point there is like, okay, fine. If you want to be the CEO who also does the thing that you guys do, in our case, marketing, let's say, like I started in web design. Say I wanted to continue building websites. Like, I like it and I want to keep doing it. I think that's still possible if I do that aspect and say, I do all the websites here, right? But I got to know that by doing that, I'm not going to have time for something else, right? Whether it's sales, whether it's HR, whatever it is, I need to infill that area with somebody else.
Delegation is purely a give and take. Like, I think of that as like you're pouring water into a different glass on somebody else's glass. Like, you're adding that task to somebody else, which maybe they are busy and they have stuff too. But as you do that, as you go through, handing off tasks, I think you're going to find that you actually complete so much more than you even realize. What's that saying? It's like people overestimate what they can do, or underestimate what they can do in a year and overestimate what they can do in a day. Yeah. So I feel like if more people delegated and handed off and trained, and like, there's also the flip side to that, right? So for a person that you can delegate tasks to, that person becomes, again, a clutch for your company. Like, they're the all around, like, I mean, everybody, that's the ideal team player, right? Like, to be like, yeah, I got it. Like, walk me through 5 seconds of it and I'll take it and run with it. But if you don't have a team that is willing to open up and accept new things that might scare them, or that they're not trained to do, or they know that somebody else is better than them at it and they just default to handing it off, that's also not good, because we want to have an entire team, including leadership, that is willing to accept that you might not be the best person to do that task, and there's somebody here that we can hand it to do it faster, better, whatever it is. In my mind, the best that you can do is do the task, check all the boxes, no matter who's doing it. So it shouldn't matter who does it, it matters that it gets done. So it does not have to just default to the leader to get everything done. It shouldn't be dissemination of everything. People should have their cores of what they do and understand what they do and do it well. But don't be afraid to take on new things. Like, you might find out, like, hey, I was delegated a task to update a website. I've used WordPress and I've used plenty of things like that, but not like extensively every single day like a developer. Well, then you do it a couple times and you're like, oh, I actually like this website thing. Like, I could help out more here. That little light bulb should happen frequently. And I feel like when people do that, they become more of the jack of all trades without even knowing it. And that's, I mean, I like to think of it like that's kind of how I amassed like certain skills, is that it wasn't that I went out and sought to be, social media guru or email marketing or advertising, like checked out YouTube, did all those things. But over time, it was just from being handed a task that I didn't know about, and then I learned how to do it. And when you fail, you learn from failure, and then you get better at it. And over time, years and years, you get really good at it.
Yeah.
And I think that is what delegation can assist in your team. It's not just withholding your business or you as a leader, it's withholding everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the last thing I would say about delegation is that it shouldn't only be focused on tasks, and actually it should probably more be focused on delegating results, right? So instead of going to your team and saying, I want you to do this exact task, well, that's going to happen on a regular basis. You need to be going to them and saying, hey, I want you to accomplish this. I've delegated a bunch of this to Allie recently. I need to understand our team's capacity, where we're at. Like, do we need to hire somebody? When do we need to hire somebody? I need you to kind of be in charge of understanding our capacity. We talked through a little bit of how to do that, just a little bit of guidance, resources, tools, all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's delegating that result. Like, I want us to be able to, at any point in time, say, hey, our team is over or under capacity. We can add this much money or this much time or work or whatever, and then we need to hire, whatever it is. Like, but it's the result, not just, I need you to go in and do this and this task and this little task and this and this. And they're like, I don't understand why I'm doing all this little stuff. Well, here's the result. And that also gives them the opportunity to be creative and come up with different ways of doing things and say, hey, you showed me how to do it this way, but actually I found this tool that will automate it, that will do this. And so then every week we'll get a report that does whatever. And like, all of a sudden you're like, great, I didn't even know that was a possibility. But by delegating just a result versus your tiny little task, now you've gotten an opportunity to enable your team to help you grow even more than you thought was possible.
And that right there, with delegating that task, somebody finding a better alternative way that they achieve the same result better and faster, found a plugin, whatever kind of thing. 9 times out of 10, if you did that task, you would have been so focused on that one little thing of getting that result that you probably wouldn't have ventured out of that bubble of just getting the task done. Yeah. And I think that in general is another improvement of delegating, is that you give a task fresh eyes, essentially. And I think that's crucial. So yeah, I think delegating is one of those things that like is necessity of a business. It's not a, what's the right word? It's not just a handoff. It's literally like part of the core piece of a successful business.
100%.